we bring entrepreneurs, mavericks, futurists who are thinking about the problem ahead of us and how our world is going to define the next or what is future of humanity. Our team has done a lot of research, and what we find it is energy storage is going to be one of the biggest challenge for the future. We all know our reliance on energy storage is going up every single day. We cannot think of a life without an energy. Without further ado, I would like to bring a very special guest who has spent more than 2 decades in understanding how the battery technology works, how we build systems which can generate electricity, not just for automotive, for the cities, for the grid. Shailesh, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Sanjiv. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes. Thank you. So Shailesh is IIT Delhi alum. He has done PhD. He has started, co-founded companies. But before we go to that, let's talk to him about his college days. So what do you think about IIT Delhi, Shailesh?
I mean, it's obviously lot of memories, unforgettable memories, and it just changes the way you think about not only academics but overall life. The inspiration, the futuristic vision, and overall the ambience is very different. So I mean that happened to me when I was at IIT. I had ever imagined that I will be at some point become an entrepreneur, and that change, that twist happened when I was part of IIT system. So yeah, that's all about IIT, at least in my views. And
what was your hostel?
So I was in Nilgiri.
So go Nilgiri.
Yes.
All right. So Shailesh, you started C4V. What was your vision and thought behind it?
So look, I mean, back in 2011, when we started working on C4V, the goal was to really come up with technologies that are not only going to be futuristic in terms of our needs, as you rightly said, right from the cell phone to laptop and now electric cars, and the way we get electricity in our household from solar, wind, everywhere. It's becoming part of our DNA in principle, storage, right? And in that, when that transformation is happening, and we are kind of transforming 2 industries, one is automotive and other the grid, and both of them are happening in parallel. That's a kind of once in a century disruption. And in order for that disruption to happen, the technologies need to be advanced further. We can't really scale 20-year-old technologies, as I call, we can't really build brand new old factories to scale it. You need to bring innovation from many different angles, from engineering, science to technologies, and then adoption. Yeah, a lot of that has to do with adoption as well. So the goal was really come up with a cutting edge next generation that is not only serving to these green industries, but also the way we produce these batteries is greener as well. We heard many stories how in many places, including child labor involved in mining some components, and then refining happening without much attention to what is going back to the mother nature. And that's not really a good practice to scale. Next century, if this is the technology that has to live, then the disruption has to come all the way from mining to adoption and recycling in between. So our goal was really come up with green technology that would be storing more energy, will be more benign environmentally, but also at the same time much cleaner to manufacture.
So Shailesh, let's talk about energy market a little bit. So my team has done some research. I don't know how accurate is data, but based on our research, we find the market size for this whole battery tech, for as we understand, and the last year data is $90 billion, which seems pretty small to me if I look at the global energy market, because we are talking energy behind everything. It's a multi-trillion-dollar market, because without energy, there is nothing exists. So why it is so small as compared to total energy market?
Yeah, I mean, it's just evolving, right? It's just to give a kind of comparative study, and that 90 billion is the perfect number to pick. India every year spend 90 billion, exports money, almost $90 billion to import crude oil. And just India's need on the crude oil alone, forget about the grid side and the solar.
Exactly.
itself is 90 billion. So globally, definitely it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and it's at the very early stage. Very early stage. We Tesla obviously did a wonderful job in changing the perception that cars can be electric and can be at the same time trendy and advanced, right?
And what are you talking about? Tesla is beating the most amazing sports car, Lamborghini.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's putting them to shame. And it's embarrassing. I don't have Tesla yet, but to tell you the fact, I'm amazed. I'm waiting for the new model to come.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what I'm talking. Back in in 2009-10, when Tesla was in the early phases, people didn't realize the impact that Tesla is bringing. And now it's complete. In last 36 months, primarily it's a whole different world. Every car manufacturer that in 2009-10 they were never even talking about the electric transport have come up with plans that they will be only electric in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. So it has changed the landscape, and definitely credit goes to Tesla for that. But that is happening in grid side as well. So I would say, and I keep giving this example, the industries and Tesla did in their battery day and other. The industry is going to be close to 3, and on lower side and above, on the higher side, probably about 5 terawatt hours in next 8 to 9 years. So that's almost 10 times on the lower side and 20 times almost higher side to what it is today. Meaning, in a very layman terms, whatever layman terms, whatever we have built in last 30 years, we have to build such capacity, cumulative, every year to meet that need. So if it is 90 billion today, it has to scale 90 billion every year to reach that number. So you'll see the difference.
No, I completely agree with you, and I'm a big fan. I go through the data and try to analyze based on the understanding I have. And when I look at the human settlement, if we go back 200 years ago, 300 years ago, it was all around water, and then the energy came next. Right, the Standard Oil even put pipelines so we have the gas so we can have lights. And now the energy has completely changed our life, and it has made it exponentially better, in my opinion. Of course, some people may disagree with that, but we have impacted our nature dramatically in the process. So what I'm calling it is a human footprint is all over. Because of the energy, especially I find it not energy generation, because solar is solving the energy generation problem. Is energy storage is the only reason we are still stuck to the older way of building civilization or cities. For example, we want near water, our cities, so we can have water access. And we want somewhere near where we can get enough electricity. So we need ability to have a coal plant, we need to have ability to, well, nuclear is not a good word, so some plant, so we can get electricity. The minute we have a storage which can service the whole city, we can be completely in isolation in a way. So what that means by that is I can build a self-contained, zero footprint cities, because I can recycle every single thing. And if we recycle everything, we know in the nature, nothing goes to the waste, everything is recycled.
Exactly, yeah.
So we are really on the cusp of planning these kind of cities once we solve the problem of energy storage. So people like you are creating an interesting paradigm, in my opinion. Once you and the genius like you create city level energy storage, I think we will change the world.
Yeah, no, rightly said, Sanjiv. I think I understand the trend and how we have really contaminated Mother Nature in crave for accessing that energy and then water and everywhere possible. And that has led to many level of discussions in political community, in scientific community, obviously industrialists. So I think everyone realizing, in many calamities with COVID, things have changed. People's perception have changed. How the way we look at the life and we look at Mother Nature has changed. For me, definitely have changed. Despite being working in the green industry, my own opinion has changed in last 18 months. How I feel about my family, my community, Mother Earth, everything. So that all I'm saying is with the growth and that was happening, and then suddenly with disruptive technologies like Tesla brought certain things. So green technologies have really made it's a sweet spot. Community and end users, or let's call it, overall audience understand good part of it, and that has really enhanced the awareness, and that has also enhanced the adoption, right? I mean, take an example of cell phone. If our battery dies, we feel like someone snatched the oxygen cylinder away from us, right? It's so much into our right now, whether calls or emails or social media. Phone is like we are married to it. That cell phone is getting expanded to your home electricity and in your electric car. So think about if
no, it's more than that. In fact, in villages we have charging stations. What are you talking about? In India we need phone more than electricity.
Yeah. So all that I'm saying is really helping, but it's also decentralizing the thinking, and it's also decentralizing the way we can build infrastructure. And I think governments and entrepreneur playing key role into that. And I strongly believe the bigger part of industrial community that the whole value chain end to end need to work closely. But this is happening. I think this is definitely happening, and now next 10 years we'll see drastic change, and we'll see how this city thinking that
smart cities we are talking about.
Yeah, smart cities, and also the perception about if you're part of a big city, that's like you see that as a progress, right? You say, oh, I'm going from this remote to big, and that's progress. That's not really a progress, right? In terms of if you see in the human race and the civilization, we have done really bad things to achieve that progress.
We need zero footprint cities. The term I'm coining is zero footprint cities, where 100% recyclable. Everything is recycled, whether it is our food waste, whether it's our water, every single thing is reuse. And we have to get to that. And the only way we can do it is by energy. And once we have the energy, which is possible even today's technology, we don't have a storage. So we are really counting on you. But I have a question for you.
Sure.
We are talking about these different material for energy storage.
Yeah.
Right. Most commonly used today is lithium-ion batteries, right?
Yeah.
We all understand the challenges. We understand the raw material. We understand all that and how that is managed and going forward. Where do you see we will be in 10 years? Because and based on our research, we don't believe that we have enough lithium ion for the whole planet.
Yeah, I would correct that in terms of the availability and the issues and obviously some concerns around lithium. I think we got enough lithium. In fact, very similar to sodium in seawater, there's plenty of lithium as well. It's just you don't have process and mechanism to extract it today in a cost-effective manner. But keeping that aside, there are enough lithium reserves in the form of brine and then ores like spodumene and some other forms of ores. And lithium, if you look at the lithium-ion battery, lithium contribution is only 5 to 7%. So it's very important, but it's not the majority cost component. There are 20 plus components that get into a lithium battery cell or a battery for that matter. So every component is important. And we are, as a global industry, like, you mentioned about 90 billion, but based on my calculation, just last 3 years, there have been almost in excess of $400 billion deployed in lithium-ion value chain alone. That is from mining to how batteries manufacture, to recycling, and then electric cars, all that combined together, just last 3 years, right? So a lot of investment going into it. But what is necessary, I think, as I said earlier, is improvement in these processes, the materials, the way they are extracted, and maybe new materials that are more human-friendly, nature-friendly. Because today a lot of batteries use, for example, cobalt and nickel, right? Mm-hmm. Cobalt, 60% of cobalt is in one country, Congo, and you can't rely on solely on that technology. So we at C4V we have taken some lead. In fact, we are building one of the largest homegrown factory, the gigafactory size here in New York, IM3NY, it's called, which is a consortium.
Congratulations and thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and it will
Made
be
in
like,
America, right?
yeah, and it will be fully. It's like born brought up here. The Tesla factory obviously controlled by Panasonic. There is LG Chem second, and we are building, which is third largest, but the first one that you can call homegrown technology. And we have paid very close attention to these things. We didn't want to duplicate the mistakes, because the moment you scale the mistakes amplitude get increased.
Yes, exactly.
So you are generating more waste now. You're polluting more as you scale that technology.
True.
So we played very close attention. We spent last 10 years, 11 years to really do it right. And I think we will be leading this industry in the US. Not only in the US, hopefully, people will take inspiration globally and either work with us or duplicate what we are doing, because it has to be very cohesive, approach. You can't just look at one part and say we'll make profit here and we don't care about left and right. And that attitude and hopefully, the mechanism will go away. And eventually, I think more sustainable businesses will grow and sustain. Because consumer is aware now. You can't fool people.
So how about the technology? Like, one is of course hydrogen cell, everybody talks about it, and second is graphene is one I'm hearing a lot. So what do you see is the challenge there, and is it even worth it? If there is enough lithium available, then why do we waste time on anything else?
I would say that's correct statement. Why to waste our time in other, but not because I work in lithium ion, but I strongly believe for next 30 to 50 years, it's for lithium. Enough lithium and enough technology and investment that gone into it. But that doesn't mean we should stop innovation. Human we as human, we want to innovate, right? So there must be something better than lithium ion, right? It cannot be good forever. And I feel hydrogen has that capability, but commercially there's a lot of hype about it today. Yeah, it's still, the processes, the fuel cell technology and the way hydrogen produced, the catalyst used, and many hurdles, and then the processes. And overall, if you look at the energy cycle, like if you have 8 hours of sun available, that's your main source, or wind, right? That's how we take when we do comparison between hydrogen and another. We say, okay, there is sun, you got to utilize it in best way possible. Now you store that energy in a battery and drive your car. Is that more efficient? Or you take that energy and put it somewhere else, gets you hydrogen, and then you take that hydrogen and put that in a car, and then it's a too many left and rights. And by the time you convert, you do the energy, whatever, mass balance for the energy, you're not really getting the value for the bucks you'll spend there when you drive that car with the hydrogen today. That doesn't mean it will be like that forever. And innovation need to happen. So I'm not against, I'm not saying it's not possible. But today, if we look into commercial deployment, there are many commercial deployment happening in hydrogen. If it makes commercial sense, maybe it is. But soon you'll realize that lithium ion going to beat every possible energy drivetrain that you see. So
let's talk about price per unit storage. We have few major ways we can store the energy today. So we have the old cobalt, and today is lithium. And let's take tomorrow graphene or some other chemical or material will come. So what are we talking per megawatt?
So, in principle today, if we look at the capex in terms of batteries, when you buy batteries, batteries are typically sold how much energy they can store, so dollars per kilowatt hour, which happen to be the unit of your electricity as well when you buy, in your household. But when you buy batteries, that's another unit. We call it capex unit. So when you buy batteries, typically prices are in $200 per kilowatt hour range today. There could be some 150, some 300, but let's take it
200 as a ballpark.
Yeah, and the moment it goes below 100, which is going very fast, in fact, some already talking about that number today, it beats internal combustion engine completely in just capex basis. Definitely, if you include all the low maintenance and other benefits, less number of moving parts, other benefits you get in your car, that's added advantage. But having that number really beats the internal combustion engine cost basis, which is your initial investment in the car and your cost to maintain and drive it every kilometer or every mile. So that will be really defeated, and it's already happening, right? As the solar prices go down and these battery prices go down, that's going to be really attractive scenario to go fully green end to end. So I feel that cost matrix you can meet with today's technologies already with the scale. Where we have to play, I think little smarter is in terms of adopting technologies that are greener in nature, not just cheap.
That's the biggest concern everybody has when we talk about energy. The biggest concern is because 60% of the emission in cities is because of all this, especially the cars.
Yeah. So we did similar study. We looked at, one side is your car going to be as cost effective as internal combustion engine, but is it going to be, how green is it going to be, right? So if you look at those technologies, cobalt, nickel base, and the technologies that are already prominent today, you're not doing any favor to Mother Nature for 5 years. So whether you drive a gas driven car or a battery car, it's actually the way these batteries produce, 5 years, it's almost same. So we have been leading that, greener aspect. We call ourselves the greenest battery available. We have cut it down into 1 year already. So that's not even in full scale production yet. We are still in early stages. But once we go in 2 year time frame, our goal is to really become a carbon neutral.
Do you have any message for our audience, which primarily from Silicon Valley, wannabe entrepreneur, or they are trying to find ways, how can they help the future generations?
Yeah, I mean, for entrepreneur business people, dollars very, very important, right? We look into what investment goes, what is return on investment going to be, and I strongly feel that there is huge potential and number of opportunities in green industry to not only make money, bring disruption, but also do good by the Mother Nature. And I would say more opportunities there than elsewhere. So my only message is, let's build a career, let's build companies, let's build, organizations, but let's also make sure that, that brings the change in the way we hand over, Mother Earth to our next generation.
That's awesome, Shailesh. I can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you very much, Radio Zindagi, for this opportunity. And big thanks to all of our audience. Because of you, we have this phenomenal show. Thank you very much, Shailesh.
Thanks, Sanjiv. Thanks for having me.